talk about the outsiders. So Trump, Fiorina, Ben Carson. I guess I'll just throw in Mike Huckabee there because he's not really running on his record as Arkansas governor. But how did those guys fare in relation to each other? Craig, what was your sense on that?
Well, what was interesting to me about it was you had all this skirmishing between two outsiders. I mean, Fiorina and Trump. I mean, they're both kind of presumably going after some of the same voters that are turned off by all the politicians in the race. And this is the first time we had that dynamic where we had major outsiders really going at it with each other. So, and I thought Fiorina got the better of that exchange, but I thought it was a really interesting new dynamic in the race.
Yeah, I thought too there was an interesting exchange between Ben Carson and Donald Trump on the vaccination question. So you've got a pediatrician, a neurosurgeon, pediatrician, but that background on there, he didn't call out Donald Trump really on the science of it, kind of just let it lie there a little bit.
Yeah, he did, and this is a guy who really knows his stuff, but he didn't call him out, and so that made me wonder, could this be like a ticket party? Could it be Trump and Carson as vice president? I mean, I don't know.
Okay, Trump, Carson, do you ever see those guys lining up, Mary?
At this point, I don't really know what to expect. I was a little caught off guard by the vaccination question. I'm assuming we're going to see another wave of anti-vaccination movements after Trump's comments. And I did feel like I feel like Carson was trying to be respectful and trying to not, mix it up with him, and was trying to basically say there's no proof that vaccinations cause autism. But yeah, he didn't really get into it with them. Yeah,
well, let's talk briefly now about kind of the governor's group, which was to the right when you were watching the screen. You have Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, John Kasich, and Christie. Who among that group stuck out for you, Craig?
Well, I mean, Christie kind of clawed his way to the front of the stage for a while there, more than most people expected. I think he's been a forgotten figure to some degree in this race. So I think in that sense it was a good debate for him. I think within the governors, I think you had some interesting fault lines between Jeb Bush and Scott Walker. I mean, you had Jeb Bush criticizing Scott Walker on foreign policy over this notion that we should rescind the invitation to a state dinner to the leader of China, and this idea of tearing up the Iran nuclear agreement on day one. And Jeb Bush was kind of poo-pooing both those ideas as being kind of naive.
Yeah, James, what's your take among the governors there? Christie, he seemed to jump out frequently to say things like, quit the bickering, get back to the middle class. Is that a way to draw attention?
I think he did a good job at doing that when he said, when he mentioned to Trump, well, you guys are rich, you guys have money, and you're a great business person, but this isn't about you guys. This is about the middle class. This is about people we have to find jobs for. Did a great job on that point.
Yeah, well, of the governors, I mean, Scott Walker's when he seemed, to me anyways, to do a little better. John Kasich seemed to not do as well in my mind this way.
Yeah, I thought Walker did better. I thought Kasich didn't do as well. I actually thought that Bush did better in this debate in that he came off as a little higher energy and a little bit more relaxed and kind of poking fun at himself occasionally. Than the first debate, which I thought he just did poorly.
Well, his hashtag name was Energizer, right?
Right. His code name was Energizer, and then he and Trump kind of hand slapped.
So then let's the U.S.
Ever ready.
Ever ready. That's what it was.
There you go.
At the other end of the stage, we had the three U.S. senators there. Rand Paul, who got a kind of a gratuitous shot early on from Donald Trump of, by the way, he shouldn't be here, and he doesn't look good either.
I haven't made fun of his looks, even though there's plenty of
material. But then Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. Craig, did either of that group, who stood out for you?
Well, I think Rubio's a good debater. I think he comes across as smooth and poised and knowledgeable. So I think he makes a good impression in that sense. I think there's an interesting just policy split between these guys, especially on foreign policy with Rubio and Rand Paul at just kind of polar opposite ends. And Rand Paul had a fair amount of speaking time in this debate for another guy who's been kind of a forgotten figure and may not be going anywhere, but he had a lot of time to kind of articulate, to make his case against military adventurism and intervention in the Middle East in a way that really no other Republicans are making.